Being 20 years old is such a weird ass time in life. If you really think about it, around this age, 20, 21, 22, 23, once you hit 20 years old, life just starts to get a little weird. Like, everyone around you is just going at such a different pace than you are. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna start having buddies getting married. You're gonna have buddies starting to go to jail. You're gonna have buddies going down deep, dark paths doing drugs. You're gonna have buddies that are starting to fucking make 6 figures. You're gonna have a fucking buddy who knocks up his girlfriend and has the first kid of the friend group. That shit is just gonna happen. And it's such a crazy time in life because you feel like you're a little kid, but you get along better with 40-year-olds than 20-year-olds. Like, that shit is insane. It's such a transitioning period between like boyhood and manhood. Part of you wants to move out and get your own spot, pay your own bills, like really start moving like a boss. And then another part of you doesn't really realize just how important your parents are to, your success and comfort and how you feel about yourself, That's why I say it's a crossroad, in my life specifically. I don't know if anybody else is really feeling this way, but I'm actually coming up on 21 years old, but it's all the same difference. And it feels like there's this pressure to grow up now, especially for me. I didn't really go to college, so I've been in the job force for like a minute now of a consistent job where I'm making money and being an adult, I guess you could say, quote unquote. And it seems like everyone's life is going to kind of like turn the corner in a little bit, and there's a lot of pressure to like, well, what are you going to do? Everybody else is getting their first jobs, but you've been at this one for a while and you're still living with your parents. And I know the economy is like literally fucking insane right now. Like, it's genuinely insane right now, but there's still that big pressure of, moving out and starting your own business and all these big things that certain people are gonna start doing around this age. I think it's important to realize that everybody just moves at their own pace, and a lot of people's childhoods allow for them to move at certain paces, and those people might get somewhere at 21 that you literally just can't get to until you're like 23, 24, and you can't let that eat you up inside. I kind of try to remind myself that, I grew up pretty privileged, but I'm not gonna be the kid graduating at 22 with literally $0 of debt and getting a 6-figure job. Like, that's just not the path that I was able to go down. But when you're 20 years old, you have like this crazy chip on your shoulder, bro. I feel like not only just me, but all my peers, you feel like you have something to prove because now you're competing with everybody. You're not protected by anything anymore like when you were like 17, 18 years old. Now it's war. You're competing for the same house that the 35-year-old that's established is competing for, and you're competing for the same car as this guy. And you're unfortunately, I don't like that the world is this way, but you're unfortunately competing for the same women that the 30-year-olds are, 20-year-old girls are going to be more attracted to 25-year-old guys because they have like a lot more shit put together. Maybe they'll have their own spot and a paid off car and a better job where they can take you out on better dates. And so I feel like that kind of leaves a lot of the younger guys with that chip on their shoulder, where they constantly feel like they got to prove themselves. I know that's how I feel personally. I know it's not good to be comparing yourself to other people and all that, but I think it is a good metric of how you're doing in life, almost in like an accountability type of way. But I don't know. I just wanted to kind of talk about life. Life is lifing for me. Healthy chips, by the way. We've been on a gym grind. Oh my God, that's another thing. Sorry, let me not talk with food in my mouth. Every insecure little 20-year-old feels the need to fucking get buff, dude, and start fucking taking steroids and doing crazy shit. There's no like patience in a 20-year-old. I feel like me and a lot of the people around me, we have no patience. Like, where the fuck are our manners? You know what I'm saying? There's just so much pressure to figure it out early. And there's like an overexposure to social media, and like all those crazy top 0.0001% of guys that are making like millions of dollars at 20. I feel like it fucks up a young man's perception of himself. I feel like a lot of us are alone too. I feel like a lot of us struggle to make connections because despite like the hyper reality that is the online realm, and how accessible everybody is to each other, it's really hard to make like a true real connection in your 20s. And if you didn't have those buddies from your childhood, it gets a little weird. It gets a little hard. But it'd be very naive and ungrateful of me to say that being 20 sucks. We have a lot of time on our hands. Whether a lot of us feel like our backs are against the wall and we have no time, technically speaking, we have a lot of time. Dating is also like insane. I know we brushed up on it earlier, but I'll talk about it in a whole different video. I'm gonna make a whole video on the male's perspective of dating in 2025. There will be a video for that. If you're watching this and you like a couple of the things I'm saying, don't worry. There's gonna be one specifically based on that. Expectations are just unrealistic now. It's important for us to just like find ourselves and be ourselves, You don't want to spend your 20s trying to fit somebody else's identity. I feel like that's the one thing that will kind of save me is like, I am me and there's no changing me. You cannot change me. You cannot change my mind on some shit. I'm very impressionable and in need of mentorship, but can't really influence my brain unless I believe it's for the better, which is nice. It's good to know that I at least have myself in that way. I feel like a lot of people's biggest enemies are themselves, unfortunately. But yeah, I was just thinking about my age. I was thinking about being 20 and how weird it is realize that we're in like this middle ground, you know? Life is like really serious, but we have opportunities to fuck up and not lose everything. There's time for redemption, and there's so much time for learning. It's just a weird age. I don't know. It's a purgatory. I think it's a quarter life crisis. You know, I feel like 20 years old is really where you have that first identity crisis. Besides the little cute ones in fucking middle school where you thought it was cool to dye your hair a certain color. A little bit of a ramble. I don't know. Probably just said a bunch of gibberish. I'm kind of just recording some videos, having a good time. I hope you guys did enjoy this video and you were able to relate a little bit. Let me know what your guys' opinions are on, you know, if you're 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, even 19, 18. You know, we're all kind of in a very similar boat, and I want to see what your guys' opinions are about how it is living at our age. You know, some of the positives, some of the negatives. I'm always down to be learning, so let me know down in the comments down below. And yeah, that's about it. I will see you guys when I see you guys later.